Hi guys.
We are back, another episode.
Cocktails with Marty and Naz.
I actually made the cocktails
She
today
sure did.
for the first time. We are doing espresso martinis.
Yes, I was craving espresso martini. So I asked Marty if she knows. Yes, if she knows how to make it. And of course she does.
We will go ahead and put the recipe down in the bottom for you guys. But I used my Nespresso machine, so it made it really easy.
It's very yummy.
Okay. All right. So we announced a lot last time we were here, just in terms of everything that we have kind of going on. And I realized that we should probably back up a little bit and talk about how we got here. So we all know you are a, celebrity stylist, but did that have anything to do with deciding to write the book? Do those tie it all together? Like, what actually, you lived this is your life. You've lived this story. This was, a few, at least a decade ago, when you got through it all. What made you decide, now's the time, I want to actually put this into words? And did your career bring you to that, or are these separate?
Well, thank you for trying to make me look younger. It's 2 decades, more than 2 decades ago. But let's stick with 1 decade.
Yes.
You know what? It actually has a lot to do with me being a fashion stylist and being in Hollywood and in that space for a very long time. Had a lot to do with me wanting to write my story. And when we talked about writing, my story and my book, originally it just became an idea when the Me Too movement happened. I talked about this a few episodes ago, but I was very moved by all the bravery of these women coming forward and talking about their experiences. And I'm not an actress, but I do work in, Hollywood, and I do work with actors, and I do work with non-actors too. I usually work with men.
Yeah.
Mostly I work with men. Most of my clients just happen to be, males. So I have experienced this myself a lot. So I've seen it firsthand, that how women are being abused, and because these are job opportunities that don't, you don't get these job opportunities that easy. So once you get them, you want to hold on to it. So women put up with a lot in this industry. They do, because they don't want to lose their job. They want to move on. They want to move forward. They want to get that promotion. They want to keep their clients. So because I heard all the stories and I have experienced it myself, and obviously my, backstory is, about abuse, it was just, it just all came together, and it was the right time, and it was, the right platform for me to also speak up and share my story and share my experiences, and just write the book and be, tell my truth. So yeah, well, it did come together both.
Okay. Well, tell me how, coming from, Iran, to America, there's that whole, the American dream, everything that you're kind of hoping for when you get here, to find yourself, in an industry with the Me Too movement. Was that something that was difficult for you? Were you really disappointed that you literally traveled 7,000 miles to kind of be in a very similar, just environment? Or how did you tie that at all? Did you think about that at all? That, wow, I traveled all this way and it's happening here,
Listen, women being abused by men, it's not anything new. It goes back to the beginning of time. It's nothing that just started happening. It's just that this time, at this time that we are living, women just found their voice, and they're not afraid anymore. And no matter what it costs them, they're willing to pay that price and speak up. If it wasn't for those women speaking up, I wouldn't have written my story. They gave me courage. They gave me that, encouragement to kind of feel like I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So even though abuse exists everywhere in the world, it doesn't matter if you're in the United States or if you're in Afghanistan. You know, women, unfortunately, it's very unfair, but, you know, whether it's in the hands of their husbands, their domestic partner, their boss, their coworker, you know, it doesn't matter. They're always being one way or another abused in all around the world.
Yeah.
However, it takes different shapes depending on where you are. So back home in Iran, obviously, it's a little more, you know, behind closed doors because it's an Islamic country. You know, the laws and regulations are very strict and tight. I experienced like things that I can never get out of my mind as a child, walking to school, seeing things that, you know, that no child should see because of a grown-ass man, you know, has, you know, no boundaries and thinks it's okay.
Yeah. Right.
And here it's just different. I guess it was just a little more, I feel like it probably happens everywhere, but here, and especially in Hollywood, because of the power men have, all those, you know, powerful men in Hollywood, they just took advantage. And women like us who are trying so hard and work so hard to, you know, build our career and, you know, make a name for ourselves, sometimes we have to put up with it. And it was normal. It was the norm that you just, you know, went along with it and didn't say anything. And after watching the morning show, that was a huge eye-opening for me because when I was in those situations, I just thought, well, it happens to everybody, and what do? You just like, you know, brush it off and just remove yourself from that situation quickly. Don't talk about it and go on.
Don't say
or
anything.
You're gonna, because you're gonna lose
your
that
job.
Lose your job. Lose that client. You're gonna lose everything that you worked for so hard. And after I saw that show, there was a scene that I was like, oh my God, that's me. That happened to me. And that made me go, this is not okay. This is absolutely not okay. And I thought, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't share with anyone, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful there are shows like that now. And there are people who are coming forward. And I'm sure it doesn't happen just to women. I'm sure men are also, you know, at some point being abused, but the ratio is definitely, you know, very different. Or, you know, women are mostly the ones that are, you know, the victim of this.
It's true. And it's like, I just wonder, like you said, we're using our voices now and we're speaking up. I think that there's just been all the things that you listed as reasons why we just smile and giggle or laugh it off, or, you know, just all of these uncomfortable, you know, harassment situations that we've been in, that we just kind of push through because we don't want to rock the boat or be seen as uptight or can't take a joke, or, you know, just
difficult. That's what they label you right away. Oh, she's difficult.
So it's just crazy to me that you came this far to then kind of just be faced with it again, which is now why we're here and you're writing 7,000 Miles to Freedom. But it's really kind of like a full circle kind of moment, I feel like, for you.
It is. I mean, the abuse that I was taking back home and I experienced is very different than the abuse, you know, I experienced here.
Sure.
You know, that was a different kind of situation. And here, it was just something I didn't expect, but I'm fed up with, you know, men just always sexualizing women and looking at them like an object. And it's just the comments that are made, it's unfortunate. And they don't think it's a big deal, you know, and it's just like, I'm like, this is
like normal.
Not
it's not
okay.
Yeah, it's like you don't say these things out loud. Like you don't say these things to women.
But you know, they're thinking it. That's the problem.
True.
Even if they don't say it, they're thinking it. And I need to know that there is going to be, you know, a culture change, a big, massive change in the industry and in this culture of, you know, always sexualizing women and saying things that degrading and, you know, this is almost 2021. You know, come
and
on.
Here we are.
Here we are. Like the way some men still, you know, treat women, it's just like Stone Ages. And it's just very disappointing. So to answer your question, yes, it had my work in Hollywood and in fashion had a lot to do with me wanting to tell my own backstory of abuse.
And hopefully, you know, 7,000 Miles to Freedom will be something to help just lift these voices even more and bring that awareness. I know that's why, at the core of why you're doing this, is to obviously tell your story and be, you know, hope for some others, but also just shedding a light on, you know, what has, like you said, been happening since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning of time. But again, with the Me Too movement and every other movement that women are starting, I'm hopeful that this culture will change and this is not going to be normalized anymore. And, you know, men are going to, you know, hold each other accountable and, you know, just make the workspace safe for women. You know, don't make it so uncomfortable for women to be in the same room with you. You know, I felt like I need to talk about my truth and my experiences, and it's an obligation. There comes a time that the money and the status and the work is just, your integrity is more important and you have to walk away. But yeah, so, but I mean, in the same kind of while we're on the subject,
all of our motivation.
I know that
why we do
obviously, you know, I'm a stylist and this is like how I used my career and my experiences to bring awareness to, you know, abuse against women. And you as a filmmaker are using your experiences and your skills and, you know, your talent to tell a story about your fight with MS. So how did that all tie in?
I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of what you were saying in the sense of styling, of like, it was very natural, you know, like being a filmmaker, just wanting to tell stories has always been, you know, my passion and what I've loved doing. So whether that was with my events business, where it was highlighting storytellers and giving them, you know, a platform, or, you know, telling some of my own stories, you know, through, you know, different features and, you know, working with my partner Jasmine. But I had not really ever thought about like me personally, you know, like I'm gonna get in front of the camera and it be this, you know, documentary style kind of journey. It's interesting because it was aligned, it made sense, but it definitely felt like for me that it came out of nowhere. but
it feels so natural. Like when I watch your videos, it's just like it's so natural. And to be honest, this is why I decided to do this with Marty, because I'm always behind the scenes and you are too,
behind the scenes.
But you've made film and I just make people pretty to be in front of camera,
myself included.
So for me, it was just like, you do have experience in the space. You know, it just comes off like you've been doing it for a million years.
Oh, listen. When I tell you, we both were like, okay, so there's YouTube, and because I think we both have aged out of all of this, and we're just trying to keep up. And so I'm like, okay, let me like Google and see what do you need and what's a selfie ring light, you know, all of this stuff. But I mean, the thing is, though, I just felt like I was so afraid. And I felt so isolated when I first got diagnosed that when I was Googling or on Instagram or just trying to find resources, I wasn't seeing anyone that looked like me. And that's what really had me be like, you know, I'm going to, you know, step in front of the camera, just like you're, you know, taking out that pen and paper. And when we see that there's a voice that's missing, I think that a lot of times it's human nature to just be like, oh, it'd be nice if someone spoke up about that or did that. But I think what I'm just so proud of both of us for is that we're like, hey, like someone needs to talk about this. So why can't it be us? You know, like.
So when you say you didn't see anybody that looked like you,
Mm-hmm.
is that because statistics of MS, is it because women of color don't get it as much, or is it because women of color don't talk about it as much?
That's a great question. It's actually neither of those answers. It's just that Black women are rarely ever seen, especially in this country. You know, the studies have proven that African American women are highest in numbers with MS.
Really?
That our symptoms are the most noticeable, whether that's optically, like being able to see, our mobility, you know, all of these things are where we're heightened, but yet we are the least focused on in terms of studies, in terms of like why this is happening to us, how, you know, the disease, you know, modifies or makes its course, you know, through different ethnic groups. And so, you know, I always think about Serena Williams. I was telling you that story with her daughter, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, of how she knew something was wrong with her when she was having her daughter, and the doctors really didn't believe her. They were going to release her home, and she had to become an angry Black woman and yell and fuss for them to do another scan, where it turned out there was a blood clot that would have caused her to have an aneurysm.
Yeah.
If they had sent her home. And it's just, you know, that case of, I think minorities in general, you know, women were always the lesser sex. That's always been like what's viewed. And, you know, then add on top being a minority, it's almost as though we're mute.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that goes for domestic violence, that goes for, you know, health, that goes for mental health. And so I really wanted to just try my best to like make a splash and kind of come out and see like, okay, maybe someone will click and like listen to us about what we have to say. But it's been so therapeutic for me. I was going to ask you with the writing of the book, I mean, you know, you're reliving, you know, a lot, and I'm currently living, but for me, it has been like an outlet. How has it been with you going back and going through those memories and bringing all that up? Is it cathartic? Does it take you into a darker space? Like, how's that been?
You know, when I just started writing, there was a lot of crying.
Oh.
Because these are the memories, as I said, it's like over 2 decades ago. I've been here for 23, 24 years. So I haven't really thought about it. I haven't really, you know, sat there and process what happened to me.
Yeah.
Once I got here, it was done. I was living a new life, and I was just not going to let those experiences and those memories hold me back. So I really like rarely talked about it. You guys didn't even know till like, you know, a couple of years back. So there's a lot of things I didn't even tell my own family. I just, you know, just felt like, okay, it happened, it's done. I don't like to feel like a victim. I don't feel I am a victim. You know, I say I'm a survivor. But yeah, there was a lot of crying at the beginning when I started the process. But as I just kept writing and writing and writing, and then going back and editing and writing some more, you don't give yourself enough credit. You know, and I know people always tell you always tell me, oh my gosh, that, you know, stuff you lived through, you don't give yourself enough credit. And I was just thinking, oh my God, I've been through so much.
Wow.
I've dealt with so much as you're writing all these events.
Yeah.
And then this happened, and that happened, that, like in that, you know, few years, at that like little amount of time, so much had happened to me that I'm like, as a young girl, I don't know how I got through it. And thank God I'm a very strong person mentally. I don't break down easy, so I got through it. But now that I look back as a grown woman, I'm like, that young girl really had to just fight her way nonstop.
You're a true survivor.
So yeah, it did start becoming a little more therapeutic, especially because I never went to therapy. She knows I'm a little icky about therapy.
I'm every Monday.
Yeah, she's pro, I'm anti. Just for myself, not for people. I tell, you know, everybody, you have to go to therapy. I just don't myself. But this has been a very therapeutic process for me to actually sit down and look at what I wrote, I'm like, ooh, I actually did go through all
Yeah.
this stuff. And I started giving myself a little more credit, and I started accepting those compliments when people say, you're so strong. Before I would brush it up like, yeah, whatever, everybody's
Yeah.
strong. Now I kind of accept the
accept
compliments,
it.
and I'm like,
Take it.
you know what? Yes, I went through it. I'm here,
Yeah.
and
It's still standing.
still standing.
I think that's a great way for us to like wrap it up today. Is for everybody to remember to give yourself that credit and to take the compliment and to also take the time to look back at everything you've been through.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, obviously, as you say, I've been through it. It's been like 20 some years ago, and I'm just like talking about my experiences now. I'm here for anybody who wants to talk about it, who feels like maybe they're in that situation or they've had a situation like that. Please feel free to give me a call, email me. This is all, confidential, but as somebody who's been through it and didn't have anybody to talk to back then, I understand how important it is. So please, if there is anything that you want to talk about, I'm here. Marty, on the other hand, she's going through it right now.
Yeah.
And she has these amazing videos that she shares with people. So I don't think you only have to have, MS to watch this video.
I don't think so.
If there's anything that you're going through right now, and it's health related, and you need some support, and you don't feel like you get that support where you need to, watch her videos. It's amazing. You can, feel like there's somebody else that's going through it, and there's somebody else like you, and she's very generous with,
just sharing
all the
you
information,
just don't wanna feel
medication, doctors,
Literally.
surgery, like everything she
you're
shares
on
with
every
people,
step of the way.
which is very brave because I wouldn't do it. I'm more of a private person. Obviously, it took me 24 years to talk about my experiences, but she's brave enough to, as she's going through it, to share this with all of you.
It's definitely in real time, but it's the same point of we just don't want you guys to feel alone. Or feel isolated. Like, we're here. Any questions, anytime you want to talk, DM, message us, leave it in the comments. Like, we're here for you, and just remember to give yourself that credit.
Yes. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. This is yummy.